welcome to Rob from the Internet Talks About Beer, a show where we discuss different styles of beer, beer history, beer flavor profiles. We give shout outs to breweries we think make exceptional beer, and we talk about whatever else comes to mind during the course of the conversation. As always, I'm your host, Rob, and if you like what I'm doing, hey, please subscribe, maybe click like on this video or hit the little bell if you are subscribed to be notified when new episodes come out. Other than that, hey, without further ado, let's get this show started. Today, my guest is Ian. I'm probably going to butcher your last name, Murchison. I assume
That's
that's
it.
how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
So if you would, Ian, tell me a little bit about yourself, how you got into the world of beer and what you do when you're not talking to people like me about beer.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Rob, for having me on. So I started and run a hop yard just outside of Ottawa here called Battle House Hops. We started back in 2020. No, 2021, I guess, was our first planting. So we're done a couple seasons on to season 3 now. We grow 3 varieties currently. We've got Cascade, Centennial, and Galena. We're just kind of going through the motions of scaling up a hop farm. Started pretty small, making sure we're doing everything correctly, figuring out how to process and package all of this stuff, which is quite a feat. Yeah, and then continuing to scale up. We're just kind of getting started. We're in it for the long haul, and it's been fun so far. A good learning experience. Yeah, and then when I'm not out in the fields growing hops, or come wintertime when we slow down, I've got another full-time job which helps pay for that right now. So I'm a designer at Nokia, actually. So,
Oh, nice.
yeah.
Nice. So what made you decide to become a hop farmer?
Yeah, that's what everyone asks me. To be honest, I'm not a brewer. I'm not a brewer background of any sort. I don't brew beer. I bought one of those like Mr. Beer kits once and gave it a shot, and it's a lot of fun. But I think part of it was really starting to see that craft brewery scene come up in Ottawa. It wasn't here, and when it started to kind of trickle in, like meeting the guys and the folks who were running those places, and what they were doing, and how they were growing was really exciting. I think it's just a really awesome community, and so we decided that we want to move out of the city, and we wanted farmland, and we weren't 100% sure what we wanted to do with the farmland. And so once we bought it, we decided that, what, I think we want to be part of this community, help the community grow, and just be there for the brewers, because we want to be part of the Ottawa scene. We want to be part of their experience, and also the home brewers as well. So I think it just kind of naturally progressed of just a love of beer and a love of the community, and now we're part of it. We're trying to help grow and make things to go in your beer.
That's pretty awesome. So do you guys focus more on like pelletized hops, or you guys sell wet hops, or a little of both, or what is it you guys are doing?
Yeah, so first year is a wash. Actually, it takes 4 to 5 years to get these plants to maturity. So the first couple of years are a bit tough, but first year's a wash. The second year, this year, we stuck to whole cone. I am a lover of the wet hop beers. I find they're always my favorites, my favorite time of year. So this year we went wet hop, and we did whole cone dried.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
so we're just kind of scaling up what we're doing in the yard, what we're learning, and then the equipment that we're buying as well. Because if you go all into it, you get really disappointed really fast, because those first
Right?
couple
Yeah.
years are like, oh man, I just spent how much money and I grew what? So we're really scaling it up. This year was all about chemicals, and making sure that we have the cleanest, freshest product that's not inhibited by any sort of fungus or disease or anything. Next year is a big story on soil health, and also post processing of the hops. So this year, like we've got our dryer, we've got our packaging machine, we do nitrogen flush for everything. But now we're starting to get into building balers to bale the hops. We've got machines ordered for, we've got a hammer mill for breaking up the hops, and we've got a pelletizer also on order that's
Nice.
coming in. Yeah.
Very, very cool. So I also grow hops in my backyard. I don't have like an actual hop yard. I have a pool house with a tall pergola that serves as my vine growing area.
Yeah.
I grow fuggles. I grow willamette. I grow East Kent, and what was the other one that actually survived? I had five. One of them died. Oh, my Centennial died, uh, but
Okay.
my Citra. That's the other one I have. Um,
Uh,
I think this year I was really lazy this year. I only harvested about a pound and a half total from all the plants, but it was a tough year because I just let them do their thing. I don't tend them that well. I just kind of let them grow. And
mhm.
since it was so dry this year, they didn't really do that well.
Okay.
But this is the third year that I've done it, and I've noticed the first plant it's 4 years old now, and it's an absolute monster. I just let it do its thing. It crawls up. I've got chicken wire that I let it crawl up on the side of the
Yeah.
pergola, and it takes over the top of the pergola and goes out over the pool house, and it just keeps right on going. And
Yeah.
the other ones, they're a year or so behind, so they're a little smaller, but it's fun. I don't necessarily brew with the wet hops that often, but I like the aroma that hops put off, and it's
Mhm.
nice down by the pool. They grow and they provide some shade for the pool area of the house, which is
Yeah.
nice. And if I want to, then I can actually brew with them. So
Yeah, you mentioned a dry season. I mean, for us, it was actually pretty wet this year, which was great. But I remember when we first planted. So we planted two rhizomes per hill kind of thing, and it didn't rain for 30 days after we planted. So we were going through water like crazy, just giving them as much water as possible. But it definitely stunted them the first year.
yeah.
So for some of the varieties, or for one of the varieties, it's probably a year behind, unfortunately, because of that. But this year was pretty good, so no complaints. But they are very thirsty plants, that's for sure.
Yes, yeah, they will take as much water as you can give them. They're kind of like tomatoes that way.
Yeah, yeah.
So how
And
big
if you
is your
give them,
hop yard?
um, well, right now I'll go by number of, not binds, but number of strings. So
Okay.
this year we did about 500 strings. And I kind of like to go by that because every yard is spaced differently. So if I tell
Yeah.
you I've got an acre of hops, that's just kind of a random number. So we did 500 strings this year. We're going to do probably close to 1,100 strings next year. So we'll be double what we have this year in next year's growth, which is awesome. And then we have, so that is actually only just over half an acre. We're going to be pushing about three-quarters of an acre, so actually not that much. But the yard itself is 12 acres. So the plan and the goal is to scale up to that, and we just want to make really sure that we're doing the right things, we're doing the right processes, we're producing the absolute best product, because I don't want to sell crap, and nobody
I don't
wants to
want to
buy
buy crap.
crap. And so part of that too is we just need to make sure that we can be extremely consistent in what we're delivering. So like this year, we harvested one variety at two different time intervals, and we did all of the acid testing at those individual time intervals, so we could understand when the optimal time for harvest is for that variety. So we're still kind of sussing it out, and we're still a little up and down on, last year's numbers versus this year's numbers. But the goal is to even that out over time, because we want the
Awesome.
brewers to be confident in our consistency. Right?
Yeah, I mean, because nobody wants inconsistent product if they're buying from somebody, and nobody wants inconsistent product if they're trying to sell it. Because the key to making money is consistency for both brewers and for the ingredient providers.
Yeah.
Totally understandable. Hey, for people who don't know, hops that you use in beer are actually a flower. And the seed cones are called strobiles. And it comes from the plant, which scientific name is, I love this name, Humulus lupulus. It always reminds me. I always think of like a werewolf or something when I think of it, but I don't know, and I have no idea why. It's just the way it sounds. People who might be interested, it's a member of the Cannabaceae family, which means it's related to weed. So you people that like weed, that's why you get those dank IPAs, because it's in that same family and has those same
There,
type of
there it is.
characteristics.
You can
Oh, what
see
do you
it.
got there?
This is Rouge River's Dankster King. Now that you
Nice.
mentioned Dank.
Dank. I am drinking Nickelbrook Equilibrium. I have a 20-liter keg of it on tap in the garage, so I
Nice.
drink it as much as I can because it's one of my favorite beers. Um,
I'm drinking right now. This is from Whippersnapper here in Ottawa. So this is
yeah.
their wet hop beer,
Oh,
using
it's a
our hops.
rye.
Yes,
Nice.
just a hint of rye. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. So I know you mentioned it earlier. What were the varieties of hops that you're growing right now?
So we're doing Cascade, Centennial, and Galena.
Galena. Okay.
Yeah,
So
Galena's kind of the oddball in there that not a lot of people are growing anymore.
yeah.
Used to be a very popular hop. I think it was created in Iowa. I want to say Iowa in like the 80s. But yeah, it's a very clean bittering hop.
Nice.
Yeah.
Not a lot of fruit flavors, or what's the flavor profile for it?
I think a lot of people use it pretty late in the boil, and it gives like a black currants kind
Okay.
of taste to it. If you use it pretty early, you'll get some of that like peachy pear, a little bit of grapefruit kind of, but it's really designed to be just like you don't use a lot of it. It's just super clean bittering hop.
Yeah, I
Um,
can't say that I have ever used that one in any of the beers that I brew. Um,
you should give it a
I tend to
try.
use a lot of the old school noble hops.
Hmm.
One of my other favorites is Saz. That's one of my favorites to
Yeah,
use. I
I've
love the
heard
little.
some horror stories about growing saws though, but
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is a
I've
good
never
hop. It is a
tried to
good
grow
hop.
it, but I like my Fuggles and I like my East Kent Goldings
Yeah.
because I like to brew a lot of English style ales when I'm brewing stuff. So those two come in handy.
Nice.
And then I brew a couple different stouts and things like that, and I tend to use like Hallertau and things like that
Yeah.
for those.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, you should. I think the Glenna could work really well in those English style ales. Let me know. I'll send you some. You can give it a shot. Let me know
hey,
how
that'd
it
be
turns
awesome.
out.
Yeah, I'm always open for finding new sources for hops. I mean, um, like I said, I'm not a huge wet hop person, but you did say you dry them and things like that, and you guys are moving towards getting pelletized stuff. That's what I tend to use, just because they're so convenient.
Yeah, well, especially at the home scale brew size too, right? Because they do soak up a lot of that wort.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of compensate for just the physical space that whole cones are taking up.
Yep.
But I do like it because realistically, when you see that process, you lose a lot of that lupulin. Like, so you're talking about what the hop is like. It's that lupulin on the inside of the cone that
Yep.
you're really after, right? And so every time we as growers touch that or processors touch the hop, you're losing a little bit of that lupulin.
Yep.
And so that's why we tend to favor the whole cone is like you get the maximum amount of lupulin in the product, but it does come with other needs when it comes to the brewing process. You either bag it or you have like a spider or some sort of collection system or a really good filter to get it out of there. So it has its challenges, but you get kind of the most pure product I think you can.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, and I'm not your typical home brewer either. I actually have a 1 barrel system. So, and it's a commercial grade system. I actually literally just had it delivered, this week. It finally showed up. I ordered it last year, and due to COVID and supply chain issues and things like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not your typical case scenario for a home brewer. I tend to brew on a large scale just because I like to play around, and it's my hobby.
Hmm.
Um, I figured if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it upright. I had a small 5 gallon system for ages, and decided it was time to move up to something bigger. And so yeah, I've got a big hop spider, so I don't have to worry about
Yeah,
that if I'm using whole cone, or even if I'm using pelletized or whatever. I just throw it all in the spider and I don't worry about it.
yeah, 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 and we hear that too. So I think in the next 2 months have all of our pelletizing machines. So any of the whole cone that we have in the freezers right now are going to be turned into pellets.
Nice. So, you guys have any plans to expand beyond the 3 varieties that you are currently growing, or are you guys happy with what you got?
Well, so the original business plan, which day one kind of gets thrown out the window,
Yes.
is has always been that we grow an acre of each variety. So the goal is to get up to 12 acres. The challenge is obviously there are proprietary hops that we cannot and will not be able to purchase because we'll never be big enough.
Right.
There are varieties that are extremely prone to certain types of diseases, which do we want to have to manage that because it gets really expensive? And then there are varieties that just simply struggle to grow in our climate.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a balance. Also, because it takes that like 4 to 5 years to get to maturity on a hop. As a grower, we're really just guessing what people are going to want and when we think are going to be popular, right? So either you're getting big contracts from breweries, and that allows you to expand on a single type of variety. But I feel that if we're doing an acre per variety, that's about, depending on the variety, say 1,800 pounds of each variety. I think that's a good number to aim for as sort of a minimum. So we will expand and grow more, but we just got to make sure we get the process right first.
Right. Yeah. No. And you don't want to expand too fast and take on too much debt and too much overhead, because that'll destroy your business just as fast as not growing fast enough.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a delicate balance where you have to decide, okay, we're going to expand this portion, we're not going to expand this portion. We're going to buy this, we're not going to buy that. And it's a fine line that you have to walk to, especially with the way the economy runs these days. I mean,
Hmm.
you have to be really careful about things. And luckily right now for you, it's not your primary source of income, so you don't have as much of a worry for it as you would if it was your only source of income.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think you're seeing a lot of these small hop farms just disappearing right now. I mean, since I started a couple of years ago, I think I know of at least three or four now, I think, that have gone under in those couple of years just around me. So they're guys who they were growing good stuff, but you have to go big. Like the guys doing these 2, 3 acre hop farms, it's just not sustainable from a business perspective.
Yeah.
You really have to go 10 acres plus to make it worthwhile.
Yeah, especially if you're not doing it just as like a secondary income or as a hobby income or something
Right.
like that. If you're trying to do this as your vocation, yeah, you definitely do. You have to plan to either start with a fairly large plot, or scale up rather rapidly. I mean,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Like you kind of have to. There's a tipping point for us too. So I'm going to be able to go up to probably 2 acres, like these smaller guys, as a um, side business, right? But then there's a tipping point where I have to go right to 10. I can't go in between. I have to go directly from 2 to 10 and
yep.
scale up, and then it's the full time job kind of thing. But yeah, we'll get there. I'm pretty confident we can get there. So it's just see how it goes.
So currently, now I'm not going to ask you to name any names or anything like that, but are you selling to any of the I guess the craft breweries in the Ottawa area right now?
We did wet hop to the craft breweries this year. And then the rest of our sales so far have been to all the home brewers.
Okay.
So we packaged everything in 2 and 8 ounce bags. So kind of perfect size for the home brewers. And because we're not pellets, um, some of the big breweries just aren't set up to deal with not
Yeah.
having pellets. And so I get it. And so we kind of pulled back on pursuing them this year because I wanted to keep whatever I had left over to actually put through the pellet machine and learn how it gets used. That's actually one of the big challenges with starting a hop farm is you only get one chance a year to test all of your equipment. Like the plant doesn't grow again, right? And
Yeah, I suppose.
so,
I didn't. I never thought of it that way. But yeah, unless you guys are growing like hydroponic, not even hydroponically, but in controlled conditions where you can have it growing year round. Yeah, you get one shot per year to get this shit right.
yeah, exactly. So it's like we build a dryer and like we don't know if it works, right? Like sure there's hot air and fans moving through it, but we don't know how long it takes to process or whatever. And so you do that, and then same with the whole nitrogen flush system. Like everything was brand new, right? And you only get one chance to do it. So right now we're in the, like we're trying to either build or buy a hop picker. And again, it's like we can't really test these machines until the plant's ready, and at that point it's kind of too late, right? Like either it works or it doesn't work.
Right.
So yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of it is a weird situation, but that's why I've kind of just kept what I've got left over so that I could actually use it to test.
So how many people are currently working in the hop yard?
It's one of those like friends and family things, you know.
Okay.
So it's all my family out there, and then when it comes to actually harvest time, I think we had 6 people for 6 days, kind of thing, picking.
Nice.
And
Nice.
that'll be this is only the second year, but that'll be the last year I ever pick hops by hand
No.
because that is
Yeah, it can be.
unreal.
Yeah, I mean, even for me, like I barely grow anything relatively compared to even what you're growing,
Mhm.
and yeah, it's a pain in the ass to pick those things by hand.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I think we picked just over 300 pounds by hand this year.
Wow.
And next year we're expecting 650. And so it's completely impossible to deal with,
Yeah, yeah, it's untenable at that point, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So,
So if people who brew beer in the home scale are listening to this or watching this show, because I'm putting it out as both the YouTube show, and then I'm going to be publishing everything also as a podcast here shortly. How can they find you?
yeah. So if you look up Battle House Hops on Instagram, on Facebook, battlehousehops.ca, that's how you can find us. We've got a web store. We've got merch and stuff, whatnot. But yeah, we've got 2 ounce and 8 ounce bags. And yeah, that's how you find us, I guess.
Hey, I mean, yeah, I mean, that's not how I found you, but that but
For the
it
most
was
part, yeah.
it was a friend of a friend situation for me. But it's awesome. I'm always looking for new people to talk to, and always looking for different subjects. And this is a little different than my typical show, because typically we're talking about a style of beer. Well, today we're just talking about something that actually goes into every style of beer, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I love branching off a little bit, and I'm one of those people. I love meeting new people, so it's always cool to grow my network, so to speak, of people I know
Mhm.
I can call on if I'm like, oh hey, these guys said they grow these types of hops. I could use some of those.
Yeah, for sure. It's like I said, like just the beer community is amazing, right? And just being a part of it is great. Lots of awesome folks, and the stuff people are doing now with brewing beers is wild. And so the more I can help them do those crazy experiments and whatever, like I was thinking back just before this meeting, one of the wildest beers I've had. We went to I've been to Iceland a few times, and there's a brewery in Iceland that brews with whale testicles. So so Iceland still has a whaling industry.
Right.
I think they cap it at like 150 whales a year or something. And so it was Christmas Eve, and we drive to this brewery, which is in the middle of nowhere. It's literally just in some guy's house. He's got like one of those coverall fabric tent things, and the
Yep.
brewery's inside of it. And we went there because he's famous for this whale testicle beer. And then what I learned is like they actually smoke the whale testicle and sheep shit before they put it into the batch. And honestly, it wasn't that bad. It was. I don't know how to describe it, but I wasn't dumping the beer.
I don't know, man. If I rolled up someplace and they said, "Yeah, you're gonna have a beer that's made with whale testicles that are smoked with sheep shit," I'd be like, "What?"
Yeah, I think it's actually illegal to sell that beer outside of Iceland, something like that. So yeah, like
Because
you
of the
have to.
whale thing.
Yeah, 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 slightly. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Oh,
makes sense. I
also,
mean,
only I learned only one testicle per batch. If that makes it any better, but maybe what doesn't make it any better is the sheer size of.
yeah, I mean, what it's got to be like the size
It's a
of
basketball. Yeah,
of like a medicine ball.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yes, brewers, please do keep doing some weird stuff.
Keep doing that weird stuff, man. We
Yeah,
love it. That's right. You know, I have never heard of a beer that made like that, but hey, who knows? There's probably some other really wacky beers out there that someone's gonna be like, oh, that's nothing. I had a beer that was made with this, and
yeah,
but
yeah.
awesome. Well, Ian, we are at the 26-minute mark, and I try to keep my shows around a half an hour, so I think we've done pretty good. So, one more time, if people are looking to connect with your hop yard, how can they do it?
Yep. So just search for Battlehouse Hops on Instagram, Facebook, or battlehousehops.ca. That's it.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Ian, it's been very enjoyable having you on the show. As always, I'm Rob from the internet. We've been talking about beer adjacent things today. So, cheers.
Cheers.